What's up, guys? Brandon and Jasmine from Nerdlocker, and we're about to talk about comic books.
Oh, yeah. So we have a lot of news coming out lately about comic books and digital format comic books. You have Marvel and DC already both. They now offer digital downloads for some of their physical books, which is pretty cool. Fans have been asking for that for a while.
Yeah, and DC just signed the exclusive with Amazon with the Kindle Fire and everything. And cool. Marvel has Nook, which is with
Barnes and Noble, which I have, which is awesome.
Yeah, and it looks like these companies are really suddenly taking this push into the digital direction.
Yeah, even both Marvel and DC also now, they're going to start allowing some of their major books, when they release on physical versions, they're actually going to have the digital download available that same day.
Yeah, I know DC has actually been doing that with their stuff. All the new 52 stuff has been available that day. Like going to the shop, I actually know people who have bought some and then buy some on their phones.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I have the Dark Horse app on my iPad, and I love it because I'm not a casual, or I'm a casual comic book reader. I'm not a committed comic book reader. When I think about it, I'm like, let's go look for a good comic book, open up my iPad, go to the Dark Horse app, see what looks interesting, and give it a whirl. I don't frequent comic book stores. You know, I'm a hermit. So this is amazing news for me. Like, I'm very excited.
I understand why people enjoy it. It is a convenience thing. Some days maybe you're out of town, or maybe you just don't feel like going to the comic book store. You can just pull out your phone or your pad thing, whatever,
Notebook,
and
whatever.
download them right there.
Yeah.
And that's cool, but it's a weird subject for me because I'm always going to be the collector. I'm always going to want the hard copy in my hands. But I remember being that way about music.
Yeah.
And I moved, and I realized I have no CDs anymore.
Yeah.
My entire collection is all digital. So it kind of freaked me out for a minute because I'm like, what if I just stop buying them and I only get them on here?
Yeah.
But it's cool to like actually see this transition happening and the company's making an effort.
And it'll be interesting. I mean, with comic books, like you said, there's a collecting aspect to comic books. So you have things that go up in value that are no longer available, and the condition that they're in is very important. So it'll be interesting to see what digital versions do to collecting. And
yeah.
I mean, that's one of the things that I like about it is, you know, I've moved a few times. I hate moving. Who doesn't?
Yeah, right? It's always fun.
Yeah. So if you're a reader or a music listener, it's really hard to move boxes and boxes of media.
Crap, essentially.
Yeah.
Like, it's also an organization thing too, because I did think about that. You know, I have all my comics organized, but if I want to read it, I have to go through, take it out, open it up, whereas you can just go on your computer or your phone and just click and look. Okay, cool, got it, read it, back in my pocket, and it's right there.
I also really enjoy being able to like zoom in on the page and really look at the art and some of the detail. It gives you a better appreciation, I think, because you can really get into the nitty-gritty details. Yeah. It's nice.
See, and the reason I'm not 100% with digital right now is because I only have an iPhone. I don't have a Kindle or a iPad or anything. So to me, reading it like this when I have a full page is silly, but if I get one, I might change.
Yeah. We'd really be interested to know what you guys think, whether you're for or against digital downloads for comics. So please let us know in the comments below. Some exciting news, I think. Under the Dome, the Stephen King novel being adapted into a television series, which we have talked about. Yeah, for Showtime. Now we have a writer, Brian K. Vaughan.
Or I like to call him BKV, to be in that exclusive group of fans of his. He wrote great things like Pride of Baghdad and Why the Last Man, and this great political comic called Ex Machina. Insane.
I've heard he's very political.
Yeah, it's really good. He also did some of the best episodes of The Lost
Totally
show.
agree.
So, yeah.
Really good writer.
Yeah, I'm on board for this. You could totally do this. If any writer could do this show, I think Brian K. Vaughan could.
And for those of you who don't know, again, the Stephen King book, Under the Dome, was
but
about...
it's kind of like the Simpsons movie, right?
It is not like the Simpsons movie. Not like the Simpsons movie. Everybody says that just because a dome happens to show up one day over a city. But really, the book is really good about characters. I mean, Stephen King in general is usually great with characters. He has great character development. You really get a feel for these real life people that he writes about. And in this book, it's the same. You have great characters, and they just all go crazy. I mean, it's kind of like a disaster movie film where people's real characteristics come out, and you really truly see what's in their heart, be it bad or good.
Primal
So,
instincts
yeah,
and
totally.
all that. Yeah,
it's really good, really good. And the addition of the type of writing that BKV does is, I think, really going to bring an element to this series that's going to make it top notch.
Especially in comparison to Lost. This is right up the same kind of survival type of thing.
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
I'm totally on board. I think you guys should tell us what you think in the comments below.
Definitely.
Hey guys, Cubby here with my comic reviews this week. My first one, Batwoman #3. Oh my god. This book has been killing it for me. I am in love with it, not only with Kate Kane, who is Batwoman, but her sidekick, the former Firebird. And it's actually really cool. This issue, Kate Kane's kind of thrown into the water because she's not really dealing with fire, she's dealing with the water chick. Anyways, she has a really, really traumatic experience with this girl. And in recovering from that, she realizes that she's actually putting a lot of people in danger. There's a lot of things that are kind of like unraveling in her life. And being that this is like the fourth or the third issue out of probably a 6-issue arc, we're kind of hitting that juicy part of the story where everything doesn't make sense. And this is where all the questions really, really build up. And it's really exciting. I'm really, really excited as to what happens next. And I can't wait to see it. J.H. Williams' art on this issue particularly kind of just blows everything out of the water. I know I said it about the last couple, but this one is really a jump above the rest and something to be kind of marveled at. Overall, I got to give it, just on art alone, 4 Nerd Skulls, but overall I'm going to give it 5 Nerd Skulls. Hey there guys, Cubby here with my second review. It is Thought Bubble Anthology from Image Comics. I have to say, out of this, it was, I didn't know what to expect. I had no idea what this was about. All I knew was Anthology, and it seems like the only theme around it was the month of November. I don't know if it's because that's the month it comes out. If they do a #2 in December, it would be all Christmas stories or what. But it didn't have anything to do with Thanksgiving or anything like that. It was actually a UK book. So a lot of the stories took place in the UK or had something to do with British people and British customs, and it was fun, and you can read it in an accent and stuff like that. The art-wise, it's a ton of different artists, a ton of different writers as well. Andy Diggle's one writer who's actually a really, really good writer, and he does a really awesome short story in this. But most of the art is really interesting. There's one where it's nothing but black and white art for flying a kite, and it's actually really beautiful in the way it's drawn, because you have to kind of look at it and you have to really, really focus in on it and try to decipher it. And I think everyone who looks at it will see something different. And I really, really like that, because it wasn't just crap thrown on paper. It was thought-provoking, and it's something that should be put in comics more. Not just big muscles and big boobs and fighting and stuff. I want thought-provoking art in my comic books sometimes. So overall, I will give this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
What's going on, guys? Brandon here, and I got some comic reviews for you this week. First off, I got the Avenging Spider-Man #1. You know what this guy wants more monthly? Is more Spider-Man. He's always been one of my favorite characters, so anytime a new Spider title comes out, whether it be a miniseries or an ongoing, I always try to pick it up. It's a pretty cool issue. You got him and Red Hulk, or whatever he's going by now, coming to New York and basically fighting a giant wave of the Mole Men creatures. J. Jonah Jameson, who's still the mayor, kind of gets kidnapped or brought along, and there's a revelation at the end. I actually kind of want to see how this pans out. The artwork is beautiful. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Next up, I got Anonymous, part of the pilot season, again, with Image Comics. Like I said before, I've enjoyed all these pilot seasons I've read. This one doesn't let down either. About a soldier who is back and kind of got a jaded past, but I definitely get a Punisher feel from this book. Goes to cemetery and sees a woman and her son, and she's abused, and follows him home, finds out the man at home is just beating her up, so he does something about it and threatens him, and he kind of just keeps This guy kind of takes it not as serious as he should. Ends with a cliffhanger, and like I said, just like the other ones, I really want to see more. It's a really interesting set of books I've seen, and I can't wait to see which one gets chosen. But pick this up, because I definitely am going to. I'm going to give this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
Hey there, nerds. Jasmine here with my comic reviews for the week. First up is Pigs #3. Pretty much this book just picks up with our crazy gang getting ready to go and attack a senator who is pretty crooked and is laying low in like Aspen or in Utah. I love this comic for the last page, or the last few panels, I should say, because it's going. They're talking about, their issues and how one of them's a traitor and, how they've gone soft and all these things. And then they go and they execute their mission, and it's awesome. And in the cover of night, they just go in, take out these Secret Service agents, and go into this senator's room, and he's, of course, with a prostitute. And it is hilarious, and the last page will make you laugh and just make you shake your head. So I really enjoyed reading it. I'm going to keep reading it, and I'm going to give it a 3.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Next up is another pilot season from Image, and it is The Test, which I really enjoyed. This comic picks up with sort of like a biodome almost. It's like a suburban community that has been closed off from the outside world because the apocalypse has happened, and they needed to protect 10 people from radiation and all the outside elements that could kill mankind, and they used 10 people because they thought that number would add up to repopulating the earth properly. They can't get out of the dome until they grow in numbers. So about 6 or 7 people wake up and come outside. They're all in their undies and like sleep clothes and negligees. It's pretty funny. And none of them remember anything. And they don't know what's going on. And there's a big woman in the sky. The dome is a screen and it's talking to them. And they're trying to figure out what's going on. And they realize, after she says that there are 10 of them, that 10 of them aren't outside. So they go looking and they find that some of them didn't necessarily survive. It's a really cool book, a really cool concept, especially because everyone slowly starts to regain their memory and realize certain things about their lives, that they did certain things, that I was a doctor and I was a scientist, and everyone seems to have had some important role to play in this group. So it's really cool. You should really check it out. I'm going to give it 4.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. This should become a great, great comic.
Hola! Steven here for some comic book reviews. Start off, we've got Artifact number 14. If you remember, I've actually reviewed some of the ones before, so I've been already caught up on the story, and I really like how this is turning. The earlier ones, it had some issues, but it was still good. Like there were certain parts where just kind of sped through it a little too much. And I still feel it has that issue with the fight scenes, but the dialogue's really good, the story's really good. I am really enjoying this, and the fights, like what they pull out, the powers they pull out are like so cool, and that's what makes the fight seem so short. If it was a simple thing like gunfight, pew pew, and that was it, then you'd be like, okay, whatever, it's short. But this is like, holy crap, they're so big and awesome. I want to see them fighting more. And so that's a little disappointing. But if you take into account that it's disappointing because of how good they are, that you want to see more, it makes you feel kind of like, okay, that's not bad. And so, but the art's really good. I really like how the story's progressing. And so I'm going to recommend this 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. Next up is Marvel Point 1. It's the startup to some new lines they're going to have going. And I won't lie, I went into it at first kind of skeptical because the first pages of art, I didn't really like the style. It seems as if it might be they're trying to do like a retro style or something like that, which I like it when it's an actual retro book, but when they're trying to go to the retro style, I always feel that it kind of misses the mark. But that wasn't it at all. It actually just starts out with that style, and then it switches to different styles for each story inside of it, and all the stories tie together in a way, and the stories were really good. I especially like the twin story, so if you're picking it up, make sure to recognize that was probably the best one in my opinion. But it was really good because it was a thicker one, and it cost $6, but you've got like 5 good stories for the cost of $6, so it's only twice as much as it would be. So it's like, do the math. 5 times, only 2 times more, really good deal. And I mean, it's gotten me actually kind of excited for what's going to come with Marvel. This whole post-apocalyptic universe they're setting up, it's cool. I'm really liking it, and I highly recommend it.
Hey guys, Bobby here with my comic reviews for the week, and my first one is going to be Green Lantern number 3, written by Jeff Johns, and the art's done by Doug Mankey. I'm really on it for this book. I've loved every single issue, and the third one gets, I'm telling you, definitely brings it up to one of my favorite books, The New 52. It's almost biblical towards the beginning with a lot of backstory for the Guardians and some stuff that, I mean, it may lead to a whole nother core There's a lot of big things happening in this book, and I want to read a lot more. There's a huge bonding moment between Sinestro and Hal Jordan, which is something that I wasn't really driving for, but still meant a lot. And it was actually a lot of good, interesting backstory for Sinestro, too. The bonding moment just meant so much for me in this book that it really pushed towards me not so much hating that they're making me sympathize for Sinestro, which is something that I've been afraid of all along. Jeff Johns in this book definitely reminds me a lot of his work on Blackest Night. He's definitely building towards something huge, and I can't wait to read it. A third army, maybe upon us. A lot of big stuff happens in this book. You guys should all be reading it. Pick it up. I'm going to give it 5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. My second comic review for the week is going to be Ultimate Comic Spider-Man number 4. This book was awesome. I really loved it. It had a big moment where there's a huge recap of Ultimate Fallout, which was otherwise known as the death of Spider-Man. Really emotional, and especially for someone that didn't read Ultimate Fallout, this was a really good book. While reading it, I kind of thought, would I really hate this if I did read Fallout? Was this a really long-winded recap? Because it did fill me in on everything that I needed to know. For a new reader, for that, I really loved it. For someone that has actually sat through one of those recaps where I've read it before and it's been long-winded, I can see where that might be a little bit bad, but otherwise, I really liked this book. If nothing else, there's a really great preview for X-Sanction coming up about Cable. But this book really pushes us into how the new suit is going to be made up and everything like that, so I'm really into it. You guys should be reading this book. I'm going to give it 3.5 out of 5 Nerd Skulls. My third comic review for the week is going to be a little book called Heart, written by Blair Butler over at G4. She also has her own web show about comics called Fresh Ink. This book was really good. I liked it. It was about a fighter in MMA and his rise to that power. I liked it because it started off with showing his success, and then it backtracks and back to when he originally started to get into fighting. I really liked it because you get to see that development. You already know that it's going to have a happy ending, and you just get to watch how much heart he has throughout the whole book. I really liked it. I'm going to give it 4 out of 5 Nerd Skulls.
All right, that's going to do it for comic book news and reviews this week. But until next week, be sure to check us out on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, as well as nerdlocker.com for all your nerdy news. I'm Jasmine.
And I'm Brandon, and we'll see you next week for even more comic news and reviews.